a delay, but we should be live now. So welcome to the Prepper Trifecta, everyone. I'm going to wait. You can tell me when it pops up too, I guess, Jay, if you're on the channel. But for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to the Prepper Trifecta. We got Che from Prepper Logic, myself, and today we have Morgan from Rogue Preparedness YouTube channel joining us. How you doing?
Hi. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We've actually done a quick collaboration video last year. That was only a year ago. We were just talking about that. It seems like it was a long time ago when you were in the area, but it was fun. So,
yeah.
As usual, we'll talk about whatever random current events, prepping related, that are going on, and whatever you guys want to talk about. If you put your questions in the chat, try to put them in all caps so we can notice them, apart from random comments. So, how you guys doing? What have you been up to? Anything going on in the world? Nothing. Just a normal year. Just a normal year. Nothing interesting.
What's happening?
Nothing prepping related that I can tell.
Oh.
Yeah. Just apocalypse. It's still the lamest apocalypse of all time. And I've been saying, it's funny because I mentioned this before, but for years I've been saying, like, when something does happen, we're not going to be lucky enough to have it be so bad that there's no laws. It'll be like halfway in between both. Like all the crappy stuff will happen, and there'll still be all these stupid laws we have to follow. And that's pretty much exactly what's happening. It's really annoying. Still have to go to work, still have like all extra rules and laws and everything, but you still have to worry about resources, security, all that stuff. Pretty much the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, none of that's gone away, and then we have the extra of everything, of the mass, and right. I don't even want to go places anymore. Like
it really makes me not want to do anything because it's so many just hoops you have to jump through. And I'm at the point now where initially looking at all the data that was coming in from all over the world, I was like, man, this thing might be pretty serious. But it's pretty obvious now that for anyone under a certain age who has no health conditions, is extremely low risk. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm willing to change my opinion about something when the data comes in. So now most of the stuff is just a nuisance, and especially with the way they implement most of these mask ordinances and all the little loopholes for this, and you have to wear walking your table but not at your table. If you have food, it's okay, but not if you don't. And it's okay if you're buying shoes at Walmart, but you can't go to a shoe store or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's just a nuisance at this point that I'm convinced is not actually doing anything.
Yeah, no, it's basically just it's okay to herd everyone into Walmart, into the exact same door, and like 600 people in the same Walmart, no big deal, right? But going to the park, how dare you go to the park? Right. Don't go to the park. You're social distancing. You're away from other people. How dare you go hiking? And like
exactly, it's a protest. It's okay, but if it's a funeral, it's not. All this other stupid nonsense. Yeah. But
people are being creative. I've seen these things where. I think that the Americans on one side, the Canadians on the other side, there's some sort of wedding that was done through a fence. The bride and groom were on different parts on each country. So it's, people are trying to make the best of it, at least in some particular scenarios. But it really is bizarre.
But all these things are compliance related, but none of those hoops are actually related to anything that makes sense to prevent the spread of any disease. It's literally just to get around the stupid rules. You know what I mean? So honestly, though, from the other side of it, it kind of shows how hard it would be to really significantly stop the spread of, like, what if this thing was 100 times worse, like one of these movie viruses? Like the way people use or don't use the masks and everything, and how hard it is to actually use them in a way that would be effective at filtering. And to stop spreading, we'll still go into any sort of store. Like it's really, really tough, I think, for any sort of actual pandemic. Like that's kind of the scary side of it.
Yeah, it would. But also, I think it's really hard because nobody has the proper anything. It's just,
right.
The cloth mask, people say it helps or whatever, but, you kind of need all the proper everything. You need the full suit and the full face. Like for an actual pandemic, something that's really like that contagious, kind of need a little bit more. And
yeah, and like the way, if you touched it at all, you'd have to get rid of it. No reusing, no cloth mask, and gloves. If you touched anything, you have to be like full on anti-contamination protocol, basically, regardless of how serious the disease is. If you're trying to actually stop it from spreading, that's what you would have to do. So with the disease,
the gloves really bother me. I can't.
But they just use the gloves and touch everything with it. It's like it's no different than not having a glove on.
Oh, it bothers me so much. Yeah. And then the plastic over the
keypads.
The keypads, yes.
And everyone's like, you could be picking your nose and then type the keypad. Oh, like the buttons are plastic. What the hell is the point of having another layer of plastic? It's not going to do anything. It would only matter if you switched that out in between every time someone touched it. Like literally every single time.
It's funny how these small things don't really compute with people. I mean, the grocery clerk wearing the gloves and touching everybody's food, touching the watermelon or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's psychologically people think, okay, it's safe, she's wearing gloves, but in reality, you're getting all the crap that all the other people, it's all been transmitted to her hands and transferred to your food.
Yeah, they're not antimicrobial or something. It's just a plastic layer on your fingers.
It's just like, you know, transfer. So the customer that came in at 8 a.m. and she touched their groceries, which they touched, you're inadvertently getting that, you know, potentially.
Right. So thank God it doesn't appear to be that serious, because there's no way you could stop when it's that fairly, like that contagious, like basically as contagious as something like flu. Yeah, lucky it's not any more serious, because there's no stopping it, you know. So.
No, and that's the thing. I think at this point it just has to run its course, and we just have to wash our hands and. I mean, just wash your hands.
No, and I was talking about this with Shay and JJ not too long, or maybe it was you and Denab, but how the whole wash your hand thing has totally disappeared. Like no one even said that. Used to be the whole thing. They're like, wash your hands, so you don't have to wear a mask, just wash your hands. And they're like, okay, and now no one even cares if you wash your hands. As long as you got the cloth on your face, even if it's been in your car seat, your kid goes sucking on it, chewing on it, put it on day after day, you don't even have to wash your hands. That magical piece of cloth makes everything better. So
Yeah, I think they had like celebrities making rhymes and stuff like that. Like, wash your hands. Like, it was a really big deal.
And I was also just in. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you
it's cool, man. Go for it.
I was just gonna say I was in Walmart the other day for whatever reason, and just seeing all the masks. I did license for the sports teams and everything. I was thinking, how much malinvestment of like time, resources, money is going into all this stuff. Like all the resources, physical and otherwise, that could be used for other things, are now going into these stupid masks and other stupid compliance issues that don't matter at all.
Right. That are just dead ends, waste of resources, waste of time.
Right.
What kind of things are you seeing out there, Morgan? If you don't mind me asking. You're in Arizona, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, I'm in Arizona. I'm in a smaller area, so I'm in a pretty small town, which is really nice because I don't have to wear a mask anywhere around here. Nobody cares. Literally nobody cares. And so I'll even go like an hour away and I'll be like open carrying and not wearing a mask. Nobody cares. It's just the norm here. And so it's pretty nice to be in a small town during this time, because people just all kind of have the same mindset. You know, I'm washing my hands. I'm keeping distance because I just don't want to get sick, period. You know, I don't really care, but, you know, and then trying to keep my kids from touching things is really fun. So, but yeah, otherwise it's been really good here. You know, nothing, you know, we've had cases just like everywhere else. And,
yeah.
Right. There's a lot of contention up here. I'm in, out of Toronto, north of Toronto in Ontario, Canada. A lot of debate with respect to the policies surrounding kids going back to school. And, you know, some parents are saying, no, we can't do it. We're going to keep them home. It's almost like daily that the teachers unions, the various unions are changing. Okay, now it's 10-year-olds that have to wear masks as opposed to 12 from the other day. What are your thoughts on your kids with respect to sending them back?
So my eldest just turned 4, and it stinks because she was in daycare for a little while, and she just loves it. She loves the kids and she loves the teachers, and she just really loves that atmosphere. So I feel really bad for her that at this time I don't really want to subject her to all the policies that the schools are putting into place. You know, even though she'd probably be okay with it, I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with kids having to wear masks all day long. I'm not okay with these pictures that I'm seeing online of kids that are literally sitting 6 feet apart in cafeterias and in, you know, spaced out classrooms and gyms and things like that. It just, I mean, what's even the point at this point? Now I understand a lot of parents have to send their kids to school, you know, public school and stuff, because they can't homeschool or they can't do any of this because, you know, they still work, and I get that. you know. But we have chosen, you know, thankfully we're able to have the choice of whether we send her to school or not. But we have another friend, family friend who they came from Jersey, and they give us these perspectives that are just wildly different than down here. I mean, everybody will like stop you in the street and they'll just be like, you know, why aren't you wearing a mask, or why aren't you doing this? I mean, people are so abrasive up there, and so they're just like dying to get back here. They had to go up for some reason and come back down. Anyway, so my point was that they have kids that our kids can play with and things like that, and so that, you know, a lot of people get really crazy about the social aspect of homeschooling. Like, well, how are they going to get all social? And I think back to regular like public school, and I'm like, I was sitting in a classroom for the good majority of 6 to 8 hours a day staring at a teacher. When did I have time to socialize between breaks and lunchtime? Those are the times that we socialized, and sure, we made friends or whatever, but
Yeah.
I was socializing plenty of times outside of school as well. There's
well, also half the socialization in schools is negative anyway. You know, get bullied or all sorts of other crazy.
Yeah, for you. Well, for you.
I don't know if I yeah, right. I don't know if I've mentioned this before though, but I was homeschooled up till 10th grade, so.
Oh, really?
And I turned out perfectly normal. Other than the doomsday prepping, you know. But yeah, so especially, and that was back when homeschooling was not very common. So nowadays, there's so many. You can still play on the sports teams at the school and all this other stuff. There's all sorts of co-ops and curriculum. Like, it's by far better. And the schools have gotten worse, and not only in like the education quality, but just every other aspect of it too. So like the safety, anything. So it's a no-brainer at this point. If it's at all possible for people, obviously it's not for everyone, but if it is, I definitely think that's the way everybody should go. Yeah. I mean, you always talk about you want to, you know, in-source things that you can and not pass them off to other people. And that's one of the most important things, or presumably would be one of the most important things for parents, is the way their children are raised and taught. So if you can have any way to take over that yourself, I think you should. So regardless of coronavirus.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We were actually on the fence beforehand, even before the Rona. You know, we were on the fence of, you know, should we homeschool or not? And this just really tipped it over the edge. And plus, I talked to like a whole bunch of people because I heard of all those myths where you're not socialized and all this.
Yeah, what does that even mean? Like, it doesn't.
I don't know. People just said it. I don't know. Like, you just believed it.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, yeah, like you said, you're sitting in a classroom staring, you know. What, passing notes back and forth and making fart jokes is like missing from.
Homeschooling, I think they have this image of this kid being locked in a basement.
Yeah, on some like a, you know, like a Waco style compound or something, like where you're just not interacting with human beings at all. And I'm like, where does this even happen? I mean, yeah, that's not the reality for most people. So luckily, Here we got a comment.
Question.
Yeah,
you want to go for it?
Yeah, it says, any comments about the ammunition shortages? From Sean Mack. That's the first one.
I have lots of comments.
Yeah, right. So from what I've seen, like obviously there's a huge run on guns and ammunition completely. It's not at the point yet. For me, the prices have gone up insane. Like just normal like 9mm like training ammo, like Full Metal Jacket, stuff like that, is like 50 cents plus a round if you can find it in stores. I've been able to find it pretty easily online if you buy in large quantities, but the prices are insane. So you have to buy larger and larger quantities, but it is still available every time I've looked. It's just, what are you willing to pay for it? The cheapest I've seen in the past few months is 47 cents a round for if you buy 10,000 rounds at once. So most of the time you stuck with like the more expensive self-defense ammo that hasn't been bought up yet, or paying something like 55, 60 cents a round for normal 9mm, 70 cents a round or 60 cents a round, whatever, for 223. So it's just prices really. I still am finding it available everywhere, every time I look online. Not everywhere, but you can still find it. But it's expensive.
Yeah, it's definitely online still. The other day, we went on to Ammo Seek and was just looking for 9, and it was like 500 rounds for $500.
Wow.
I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's crazy expensive. Yeah, you could, like you said, you can definitely find it online for sure, but
it's just expensive. Yeah, you're gonna be paying. And so now that especially for preppers like us who like to have large quantities and usually shoot recreationally too, it's a tough choice. Like, do I stop shooting for a while, or do I just start, you know, like, cause most of these times I go out to the desert, pop off a few rounds, I'm shooting a couple hundred rounds. So now we're talking about like anywhere from $50 to $200 that it's going to cost to just go out there and shoot for a couple hours.
Exactly.
Brutal.
For the day.
And if you're trying to stockpile hundreds of thousands, then yeah, go ahead, Chick.
No, continue. What were you saying?
So like, I'm just saying, if you're trying to stockpile, then, you know, forget about it. You're talking about just insane amounts of money.
It can be an expensive day too when you go out. I've seen even people grabbing not just ammo, but firearms, a shortage of actual firearms. Like, I don't know if you guys got a used, you probably have a lot more firearm stores than we do. Any of the used firearm stores or new and used, they sell surplus stuff. It just seems to be nothing's available. Everybody's buying anything they can get their hands on. So no different here. I haven't really checked the price of ammo lately, but I know it doesn't sound much different than what initially when this started, everybody wanted ammo and everybody wanted firearms and everybody wanted food as well. We touched on that briefly before we went live. Perhaps you guys can discuss what kind of shortages you're seeing out there in terms of food. I know that people that aren't even preppers have it in their mind that, oh, there's a disaster, need to stock up on food. It's almost like a primitive reaction. They want to stockpile. And I've seen it here. Ran out of flour, ran out of a lot of things. What's your feeling on food shortages in the coming future and recommendations in that respect?
I haven't noticed too, but you'll see so certain things disappear for very briefly, but ever since the initial like panic where the toilet paper and everything, and people were just buying whatever they could, I haven't noticed anything too dramatic. Like, every time I've gone to the store, there's pretty much anything you want will be there. Maybe not necessarily in the largest quantities you want, but at least for the past month or so, I haven't had any issues finding anything. Like, you might go and say, oh, there's only one pack of chicken leg quarters, and normally there's 5 or 6 or something like that. But I haven't noticed any super shortages. I think people, like you said, are just in this mode of like buying more, which honestly, I think that's a really good thing. I mean, the people are just getting into the idea that, yeah, I should have a little more of the things I need on hand, even if that's going to cause there to be temporary shortages. I've always thought that the ability to just walk into a store and buy whatever the hell you want is pretty fake anyway. You know what I mean? Like, that's not real life. Like, that's never seemed like something that was, it's a really small point in history where that's even a thing. You know, like, the reality of just nature is that there's not just going to be unlimited resources whenever you like it. So getting that in people's head is probably a good thing, but I haven't really noticed too many dramatic shortages here, luckily.
What about price increases?
Slight, but not dramatic. Not yet, anyways. And I've noticed a significant increase in rice, probably on a percentage basis. Like, the 20-pound bags probably went up by 10 or 20%, but that's still just not that much money when you're talking about rice, which is good. Meat, haven't noticed it yet. I kept hearing about meat shortages and stuff, but I still am able to get meat at pretty good prices, which I'm happy about.
I think it's funny that you mentioned, sorry, it's funny that you mentioned the people can just go to the store and, you know, there's unlimited supply of everything. And I think that's stressing people out so much, is because they're worried that they're not going to be able to go to the store and just get whatever they want. And they don't know how to deal with that. They have no idea what happens when my food goes out. Well, you better start planning now. Like, you know, if you're really worried about that, you know, there's lots of little ways that you can, you know, start figuring out longer term, you know, food supply instead of just storing food. I mean, it's almost unrealistic to be like, I want a lifetime supply of, you know, food storage. Unrealistic for the majority of us, and then maybe, you know, not the rich or whatever, but definitely unless you have like the huge bunkers or whatever. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, we haven't seen outside of the original pandemic, we haven't seen too much, or at the start of the pandemic, we haven't seen too much shortages or huge price increases either. So right now everything's pretty well in stock.
I've seen beef and chicken fluctuate in ridiculous price per pound, and there's several sources that are suggesting we're going to experience food shortages in the future. Now, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. Can't see the future. But if somebody was starting out, for both of you, if somebody's just getting into this, maybe they're new to the channel or new to preparedness in general, what would you recommend would be a good place? What sort of items would you say, okay, you've got, I don't know, $1,000 or $500 to spend next week? What do you guys think would be the proper types of food? I'll throw my 2 cents in real quick. I think quality nutrition is important. So protein powder would definitely be in there. Good shelf life, good nutritional value. Processed, mind you. But what do you guys think?
For me, I always go back to, and I'm lucky that I like it too, but rice has always been the best bang for buck when it comes to the price, the ease of storage, how many calories you get per pound and per dollar. And that's the same for a lot of other grains too, but you don't even have to really do anything with just rice. I mean, you can even just soak it in water if you need to prepare it. And so that's my number one always is rice, just white rice. The brown rice doesn't store quite as well because of more oils in it. But yeah, I literally just eat white rice almost every day anyway, so that's a good thing for me. But that's super easy. Canned goods are always easy too because you get a lot more variety that way, and it's stuff you can buy still pretty cheap. The problem with them is the space and the weight. They're still pretty cheap, but because the water's in there, it takes up a lot more space and it's a lot heavier. But that's my go-tos, canned goods and rice. Because you can even get canned meats and stuff, which meat is one of the harder things to store long-term on your own. You either have to can it yourself or freeze dry it, so canned goods like Spam, which is a ubiquitous prepper staple, Spam, canned chicken, canned sardines, stuff like that, rice, and any sort of canned goods. Yeah, that'd be my go-to.
Outside of canned stuff, I really like, I've been trying to store more powdered stuff and freeze-dried stuff. Like, I really do like the freeze-dried meats. Very expensive, but outside of the canned meats, I'm really trying to look more towards that just because they will have a little bit longer shelf life. But other than that, it's like powdered milk and powdered cheeses and just general powdered stuff to kind of offer that little bit of variety, like the even powdered veggies and powdered fruits and stuff, because you can mix that in with like your oatmeal or mix it in with your pasta or your rice, right? Yeah, it's a lot of good mix-in stuff. So I've been trying to think about more kind of powdered stuff lately. It doesn't have to be powdered, but freeze-dried kind of stuff too. But yeah, it's a little more expensive. But
speaking of freeze-dried, I'm in contact with a company out of BC called Preparedness Solutions, and I'll see if I can get you guys I'll give them a plug, bridensolutions.ca. Freeze-dried chicken Alfredo that I've had from them. And I was a Boy Scout. I've been eating freeze-dried food for 20 plus years. Everything, Mountain House, everything. And this particular chicken Alfredo was my favorite meal, first off. Forget the freeze-dried component. Love chicken Alfredo. This particular brand, it's called Peak Refuel. It is like, there are cubes the size of marbles for chicken. Like, it's really, really good quality. So maybe I'll see about getting you guys a package to review. You guys have your own freeze-dried? It's expensive. The machines are, at least here in Canada. I'm kind of waiting till the price goes down. Or is it just purchasing? You just purchase freeze-dried?
I don't have any. I only have a very small amount of freeze-dried stuff right now, and I definitely don't have my own machine. I'd love to have one of those like harvest rate ones. They're $4,000 or $5,000 if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So I think if that definitely would be awesome, because you could still make that stuff cheaper than buying it commercially. But I think unless you have a couple people to go in on one together, or you're really serious about the prepping, it's going to be quite a big bill, because you have $4,000 or $5,000, and then you have to buy all the food still and the packaging. That's just for the machine.
It's on the list for me. I'm going to probably try and make one. My understanding is freeze-dried as opposed to dehydrated. The big one is the consistency and taste. It tastes a lot better when you quote unquote rehydrate a freeze-dried as opposed to dehydrate. It can also retain the nutrients as well.
Right.
Morgan, do you have a freeze-dried machine, or you're doing it the old school way like me with the dehydrators?
Yeah, no, we have a solar dehydrator actually, which works fantastic. And so we're all on solar. And unfortunately, we were actually kicking around the idea of doing like their installment plan or whatever. Like they have a layaway, that's what it was. And just trying to get like the smallest one. I think the smallest one is like 2,600 or something like that. But I mean, it's pretty small. Like it only has like 3 or 4 trays or something like that you can put food on. I mean, only, but whatever. Anyway, and so unfortunately, we were mathing out how we could make a freeze dryer work, because with a freeze dryer, you have to let it run at least like 24 hours or more.
Lots of power.
And yeah, it takes a lot of electricity. And unfortunately, our setup right now, there's no way we could do that. We can't even run a standard electric dehydrator on our solar setup. That's why I have a solar dehydrator, which is amazing. But it's actually way bigger than any dehydrator I could ever buy from the store. But it's, you know, I would love one day, you know, maybe when we up our solar or something, but you know, and we can afford it. It's another story.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd, unique market. I mean, it's totally applicable to preppers, freeze dried. I'd love to freeze dry my food, but they're thousands of dollars. So, and they run like a dryer. The power consumption is insane. So who knows? Thanks for joining us. If you are joining us right now, my name's Che. I'm with Prepper Logic. We are on the Ward Humongous channel. Morgan from Rogue Preparedness has been gracious enough to join us this evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell everybody the name of where they can find you, or do they just Google Rogue Preparedness?
Yeah, you can pretty much Google Rogue Preparedness, and I'm there. I'm pretty much everywhere: website, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram.
Cool. There's actually one thing I saw in one of your videos years ago. I don't watch many preparedness videos. I just don't. But I did catch something on EMPs years ago, and it was something like the top 5 things to do or something like that. And I thought it was very well done, because one of the first things you said at the time, I think you probably lived by some sort of traffic. There was a lot of traffic in close to where you were living, or at least where you were filming. And you said the first thing you do, or one of the first things you do, is you listen, you know, because there's a freeway over there. And if we have an EMP, we're going to experience all sorts of vehicle issues, probably. So just listen to the traffic from the highway. I thought that was very intelligent.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was like the start of my channel 5 years ago, I think.
It's crazy, yeah. Goes quick.
I hate watching those little videos. I'm just like, who is this?
Yeah, some of my early videos are pretty cringe. To use the parlance of our times.
Yeah.
Someone says, the problem with Vegas is nothing is produced locally. Everything is shipped in. Because of that, it's one of the worst places to be. Its supply chain went away. Maybe. And I've mentioned this before, where there's sort of a dichotomy with being in a harsh environment, where if you are well prepared, it might actually be a benefit, because everyone else is going to be just gone or have to leave or whatever, versus a place with abundant resources or somewhere where it's easy to live. It's also easy for you, but it also means there's probably gonna be a lot more people that are still there or survive any sort of major catastrophic event. So you could look at it either way. Might be better to be somewhere off in the desert where it's hard to live if something really goes bad, if you're able to live there.
You know, people have been living in the desert for thousands of years, and they've always made it work. You know, there's actually a lot of resources in the desert that people, you know, they hear a desert and they just hear, you know, dead, like the wasteland, nothing, right? And that's true for a lot of areas. You know, Death Valley, I wouldn't want to live in Death Valley, no freaking way. But most desertish areas, especially places that are already occupied, like Vegas, you know, that have this metropolis, and places that, you know, are, you know, have people already living there, there are resources available. And sometimes it's more about just connecting with the community. And, you know, if you don't have a well, maybe you can use somebody else's well. If, you know, you can get a garden going, and I'm getting a garden going right now, you know, in a greenhouse. And it takes a little bit of water, but, you know, I think in these situations, the community really is a big deal. We've made a lot of connections and have gotten a lot of things together because we've been so active in the community. And so, you know, it kind of depends.
That's good. Everyone out here is crazy. I'm kind of reluctant to, you know, try and meet up with people, but it's definitely.
I didn't say people weren't crazy.
Oh, okay, good. It's got to be the right kind of crazy, though.
Right.
I'm talking more about like approaching random like neighbors and just being like, hey, you know, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough. I hear you.
Yeah.
We did it. My husband's like all about it.
That's cool.
A neighbor driving by, like wave him down. Stop! Hello, we're right up there. Hello, how are you? Where do you live? Like, oh God. Awesome. No, but he's good. He's the social one.
That's cool. That definitely can be a benefit too. for sure to not be alone.
Yeah.
To have people that you just, that's good.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my weak areas, honestly.
It's a lot of preppers' weak areas, to tell you what.
Not being as social, being introverted.
Well, as a person, I'm extremely social, but I mean, not building relationships like that with respect to prepping or preparedness. You know what I mean?
It's tough.
Yeah.
From my experience up here, it's been, it's like 1 out of 10 is off the rocker, like they're listening to the voices in their head and how the stars align. So there are preppers out there, unfortunately, that are just that are wing nuts. I got some lady that's wanted me to call her for the last 2 months now to tell me about the aliens, So,
Yeah.
with that said, there are definitely some good people out there that I've met. It seems to be about 1 in 50 the preppers that I meet that it's like, okay, this person, they share the same passion. It's not just sort of a weekend hobby. They take it seriously enough. They're ethically, morally wired correctly, or in a way that's, I can connect with. And, a handful of other sorts of attributes. It's like, okay, you made the team. But most of them are, I don't know.
Probably like anything else, you know what I mean? Like any random group, regardless of what what it would be based around, you're probably only likely to really connect with 2 or 3% of them like that too. So it's not that surprising.
And there's a lot.
But then you have the added element of, preppers being worried about who knows that that's what you do and everything. So it's not like you're talking about any sort of other hobby group where you're like, if it doesn't work out, whatever, I just won't talk to the guy anymore, Like if now some crazy person knows what you're about and maybe where you are and everything.
Exactly.
And you're like, Jesus.
All your stores and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like making soup. It's the analogy I give you. When you make a soup or you make a recipe, you can always add ingredients you can never take back. So you can reveal your stores or your, this room filled with food. You can never erase that memory from that individual's mind. Right. So it being out there, Morgan, in rural, and I would think, just taking the preparedness aside, there's a lot more drive or motivation for people that want to be sort of self-reliant. I've found that people are not necessarily preppers, but they like the isolated rural lifestyle. Have you interacted or met people out there that are sort of more or less in alignment with what you're trying to do in preparedness, but don't necessarily have that title?
So it's really funny you say that. Actually, the majority of people out here are older, retired. They just don't care about any of that. They nobody gardens around here. Now there are lots of people with lots of great skills, and we've been able to help each other. We've been able to get, there are a lot of farmers out here. There are a lot of farmers, and so we've been making connections with them and all that. But basically everyone that I talk to is just basically, they're retired. They come out here to retire, and that's it. And,
wow.
It's very interesting. Which is also another interesting thing, because they're so far away from a major city that has, I think the nearest medical care is like an hour away or something. About 45 minutes, an hour away. And, and grocery store as well. Grocery store is about 45 minutes still. It's, they're very far from all these resources. And so,
incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you want to live beside a hospital, but you definitely want to be a little bit closer than.
For some people, yeah. I mean, there was actually one woman that had to move from here because she was having medical concerns and physically had to move there because they can't be, hour and a half away from medical attention. You just can't do that if you have severe medical concerns. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always thought about that. Like when you're that rural, that can be a concern, being that far from serious medical treatment,
Yeah, we're very about prevention.
Have to be, yeah.
No step on snake, all that. So.
Good.
Ozark Hiker 23. Do your family members prep? I think we got to do memes after this, perhaps.
Yeah. I've only got 4, but I'm ready.
Oh yeah, I've got 3. You beat me. But do your family members prep? You guys have seen Doomsday Preppers, maybe the audience as well. And you see these episodes where, the father's, okay, it's 6 a.m. harassing the daughter. Let's go. You always seem to have this consistent part of the show where the last few minutes is, you got to bug out, and all the family members are there. Some of the family members are like, they're rolling their eyes.
Right. Like,
We
do
gotta
I
do
have
this,
to eat
okay?
algae again today?
Do I gotta walk, hiking the little thing to get to the bunker?
Why can't I use the real toilet, Dad?
So no, I don't, because for that reason, it's my lifestyle, and I don't feel they're taken care of. They're well taken care of, but I don't force any of my family members to prep.
Yeah, I certainly don't force anyone. Like I don't live with any of my family members, but I do have some that prep independently on their own, which is great. But other than that, I don't try to push it. And I'm pretty far away at this point now, like physically, to where I don't really have too much prep set aside for other people in my family either, just because it doesn't make sense. But
Were they prepping before the pandemic?
yeah.
Oh.
I don't think. I mean, other than like we were talking about earlier, where a lot of people now are going to be putting a little more food and normal supplies aside. I don't think anyone has like started prepping that wasn't already doing it. So that's interesting.
Now, Morgan, you're married.
Yes.
Let's say you've got the channel. You're the one that's the obviously the prepper. Is the husband aligned with your prepping lifestyle?
Yeah, we're all aligned on the same page with everything, but I'm the prepper. So he loves it. He loves the lifestyle. He gets annoyed with some of my things. Like the other day, I purchased some food, some freeze-dried food, and I didn't tell him when he saw this. He was like, "What is this purchase?" I was like, "I purchased some food." And he gets
all
annoyed.
these zeros? Like it's 9 mil. It's 9 mil ammo. It's up to $7 a round.
Oh jeez. It's only a few hundred rounds.
Right.
So yeah, he's definitely all online, and there's certain things that he likes better about this and about this lifestyle and off grid and all that, And I take care of like the little details, and he gets really annoyed with some of this stuff, but he also understands that he's tolerant, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's important. I've seen hardcore preppers where the spouse disagreed with it, and they didn't last these relationships. So if he's on board, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's really important.
Yeah, you need at least somebody to support you. I mean, you don't need them. I'm not even sure you really need them to be prepped, as with you, as long as they just support you. Be like, that's cool.
Right. You can't be fighting about it constantly. Obviously, yeah, that'd be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Eric, I might as well ask you too, because you've been with this lady for some time now, from what I recall.
Quite a bit of time. Yeah, it's scary.
Is she a prep scary time?
No, sort of sim. How long? What?
How long have you been with her?
This is year 15.
Okay, you're married. All right. You're gonna get married. You're gonna have kids.
Am I what?
You're gonna get married. You're gonna have kids. It's a done deal.
Hey, if I've lasted 15 years, I think I can go a few more without getting married.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's been a long time. I've been a prepper the entire time. I'd say it's pretty similar to what Morgan was saying, where she's totally cool with whatever I'm doing. I annoy her with my weirdness and stuff, and she doesn't do any of the prepping. I do all of it, but I also keep finances 100% separate and everything too. So to me, it's not an issue. I just do what I'm going to do and say, hey, don't knock over my water barrels and stuff.
Well, Morgan wanted to chime in.
But she's definitely
about your lack of tenure. So 15 years, you could do another 15. Morgan, what were you going to say there?
I'm surprised she's still with you.
Awesome. What can I say? But I definitely, especially this. I mean, she's always agreed that these things need to be, that it's smart to be prepared. She definitely wouldn't go to this extent on her own, if I wasn't here. But she definitely understands that it's worthwhile, especially now, saying like, hey, wow, this stuff matters, real world type stuff. But I've never had to fight about it, other than just general clutter and things like that aren't necessarily related to prepping, taking up entire rooms and stuff. But that's more just me.
That's a really, really good point, where I've seen some relationships where the COVID thing happened, where the spouse wasn't necessarily on board with preparedness.
Yeah, kind of woke them up.
Suddenly, like, oh wow, you've got a N95 masks, so their psychology shifted.
Yeah.
When the pandemic happened.
Yeah, they start thinking, oh my God, we need this. My friend said, like, hey, I got that. Oh, I got that too. Yeah, we're good. We got all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a good spot to be, to have people realize, like I always knew this was like a smart thing to do, but now it's like really hitting home. Like, I'm glad that you've been doing this. It's like definitely good thing to hear.
I think we need like a, for some reason, the Running Man theme was in my mind, but we need like a theme or something to start the show. More importantly, we need one for the meme segments.
Yeah, like an intro sound effect. Like,
yeah.
to herald the coming of the memes.
Yes.
All right, well, I'll kick it off. I've only got 4.
Kick it off.
I think one of them,
Go for
one
it.
of you guys has showed already, but I don't remember. So, whatever. All right, let me see. Share screen. Just a second. I'm tech illiterate.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Take your time, too. You always can't choose so quickly.
All right, here we go. Here's the first one. So it's the coronavirus waiting to see if I forgot to order food at the bar so it can attack me. And that's reference to, I don't know where everyone lives, but here you're like not allowed to have a drink unless you have food. Then you can take your mask off like it matters, whether there's a soggy plate of fries in front of you. It's really stupid.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then we got the alien. She's like worried.
Oh, right.
Then has a mask. It's like happy.
Good.
Hey, so all safe now. Has a mask.
That's funny.
And then we got I was there 3,000 years ago when they said 15 days to slow the spread. It's about what it feels like.
Oh, God.
And then the last one is here, got your mask on. So hygiene is perfectly taken care of. No spread of disease there, even though your ass is right on all the raw meat. As long as you got your mask on, good to go. So yeah, it's the state of the world.
I wish I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, I had to do a sensitive warning, probably.
Yeah, you should get like a notice to the viewers here. I think
people at Walmart.
I usually see that there's a couple girls on Facebook, and what they'll do is I don't know, they'll post some picture, some muscular guy, and then I always respond with like a guy pouring Tabasco sauce in his eyes.
In his eye, dripping in his eye. I've seen that one. Like,
yeah. That's.
I don't think I can go to heaven if that's the last thing I see.
Okay, I got my 3. I apologize if there's an audio interference.
I hear a little buzzing. I just assumed it was like a police scanner or something in the background.
Well, I have to connect it on my phone here, and then it's just the way that it works.
Got to transfer the Canadian internet to American internet.
Yeah, there we go. School reopening simulator, Mentos and Coca-Cola. We've got North Korean. What? Don't get no virus. He sniffed everyone. Finally, this one I found amusing. Government stockpile.
It always happens. They're like arsenal of 3 guns, and we're over here like.
Yeah, 1 Remington rifle, 2 scopes.
Right.
You need that meme at the bottom.
There you go. That's the one.
Yeah.
Every gun over ever is like.
Yeah, 1 rifle, 1,000.
Stockpile. Holy
yeah,
moly.
right. That's a stockpile. That's like not even a range day. I have more than that in my truck when we just go out to the range.
Yeah.
Jesus. And that actually reminds me, I was reading an article a few years ago where they're talking about how many guns are owned in the U.S. And it's obviously more than that now. You're sideways, by the way, Shay. You get flipped.
Am I? Did I go sideways?
And it said that like, there's this many guns in the U.S., but most of them are wrapped up in the hands of super owners who own 15 or more. And I was just like, yeah, super owner. I'm thinking about making a shirt, like super owner. Or
I
like
would buy that shirt.
Yeah, like a badge. And so if you have like multiples of 15, you can get like a super owner with Oakley cluster or something, like a Medal of Honor or something, or a bronze star. Yes. So super, maybe like the pat, like instead of a Ranger tab, you get a super owner tab. I think I'll make those super owners.
Good.
Like, fuck yeah, super owner.
A super owner.
So we've got school
crooked.
starting next few weeks. We've got this pandemic. Rogue, preparedness. Morgan, what do you think? How do you see this playing out? We're obviously in a worldwide financial collapse is sort of inevitable in some levels in Western society. There's going to be fluctuating price.
Can you hear?
Oh, he froze.
Oh, we lost Shay.
Oh no.
Well, his question was, how do you think this is going to be?
Eric was sort of alluding to, you can't get everything at once. It makes it a little bit more.
What?
What?
Sorry, I chopped up.
You froze and then you came back all super speed for like 30 seconds.
Sure.
Yep, it's that Canadian internet. I told you.
Okay, sorry. Must
It's only
have a bad
60% of the American internet conversion.
Okay.
All right.
You're still
How do you
sideways
see it
though
playing
too.
out? I'll keep it simple. Really? I'm still sideways?
Now you're
Is
up.
that
There you
better?
go. Yep, that's it.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So how do you see the school reopening playing out? Do you think we'll see massive spikes? Do you think kids even have anything to worry about, or is it mostly the teachers? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to predict this kind of stuff. I mean, I think there probably will be a spike in cases, but I think that's about it. You know, I think there's going to continue to be a spike in cases. I don't think we can really get away from that unless we shut everything down ever. So, I mean, I don't know. I think kids are what my husband was telling me a study that they were showing. There was a kid in the hospital, not for COVID, but just in the hospital, and they were testing him or whatever, and they saw that the child had more of the
higher viral load, basically.
Yes, yeah, they had a higher viral load than they've ever seen in any adult, with no symptoms, totally asymptomatic, and everyone in the household, nobody was sick from the household either. And so I think kids are 1,000% carriers, but I think a lot of us are, and I'm not sure that being asymptomatic is, you know, I may have even had it at one time. I think I remember a little scratchy throat one time. That was, I don't know. But I think a lot of us have probably had it at one point. I just had no idea.
Yeah, and especially when you consider, like I said, in a group like that, the younger you get, the less, fatal it is. Talking fraction of a percent actual risk of anything serious happening. So cases increasing isn't even necessarily meaningful, especially when you have testing increasing and you're talking about demographics that have zero to fear from this. Like it's more risky to be driving around to and from school, or doing any sort of sporting, playing football or whatever is probably more of a risk, cheerleading, than worrying about the coronavirus. So
yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned that specifically, because if more people realize that and there's an increase or an influx of the number of cases, some governments or states may say, okay, well, we need to isolate again. And I think that would give more motivations for people to revolt, especially leading up to you got a big election, a big day on November 3rd. How do you guys think about what's happening in the States with certain policies and, it's Portland and whatnot, and the election? How is the coronavirus affecting the election, if it is?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to become a pretty partisan issue at this point, honestly. I think if Biden were to win, it would totally disappear as an issue. No one would even mention it again. Luckily, I don't think he is going to win. It's not guaranteed by any means, but I do think Trump will win re-election. As far as what's going on in Portland and everything, it looks crazy I got a buddy who lives up there, so I got to ask him. He's certainly not involved in anything. He's just going to work probably 80 hours a week or whatever. I don't have time for that foolishness. But I wanted to ask him, I'm seeing all the footage from these things, but is this just some random spot in town, or is this really all over the place? I don't know. I talked with Jay, one of the last couple ones I did when you weren't there, Jay, me and JJ were talking about it. I was mentioning that, to me, I think it's so stupid for people to go down with these videos of them with these shields, and they're hitting each other with bats and all this. And I'm like, they're doing this for fun on both sides. You know what I mean? This is not why the hell would you go down there? If you know you're going to be getting in a fight and they're counting on it being just a non-lethal brawl or whatever, but you don't know that, why would you even go there? It seems so stupid to me. It's literally just because they're trying to fucking fight. You know what I mean? There's nothing to be accomplished by going down there. So I really don't get it.
What are they trying to accomplish?
I literally have no idea. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's what I mean. There's zero that can be gained from this. You have the risk of being seriously injured or ending up in jail or whatever. And what's the best case scenario? You get to hit a couple fucking commies with a baton. That's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Definitely like to wail on some commies. some noodle armed vegans or whatever, but like, what are you really gaining from this? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah, nonsensical. Nonsensical.
yeah, like throwing water bottles at each other and stuff. I'm like, if you're going down there to actually do something, crush them instantly and then leave. Don't sit there with cardboard shields. You know what I mean? And if you're not justified in doing something super serious, don't even go.
I think the problem is with, and I can personally identify more with people like you two, as opposed to the people that are actively protesting in Portland, because I think that there's a lot more rationality when I speak to people like you, as opposed to somebody that's motivated based on a feeling or emotion that they're angry. Maybe isolation had something to do with it. They just need to get out and rebel and retaliate against a system they don't agree with.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what the interactions is or the outcomes are. It's just they need to get the feeling out, as opposed to that supersedes any rationality with respect to, oh, I threw a rock through a Starbucks window, that's
Right.
insured, or a mom and pop's place, we'll say, that has nothing to do with anything. It was
Right.
more just the act of violence. What do you think is going to happen in the election, Morgan? Who's going to win? What's your prediction?
I do think Trump is going to get
Spot.
elected, but
Okay.
but I don't think, no matter how it goes down, I don't think either side is going to be pleased. Like, Biden can
Right.
win, the other side's not going to be happy. If Trump wins, the other side's not going to be happy. I think that there's going to be high emotions, probably maybe not widespread, but pretty big spread of emotional protesting and things. I really, honestly, truly believe that's something.
Great way to put it. Emotional protesting.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it'll be like the sporting events. You'll either see the riots after they win or the riots after they lose. You know what I mean? So like celebratory riots or anger riots. Either way, we're going to get unrest for sure, from the same people. So I definitely don't see a large group of Trump supporters doing any sort of rioting or civil unrest if he were to lose. But if he were to lose, there'll be like the yay, celebratory riots.
Right.
And if he were to win, which I do think he will, then they'll have all the same angry weeping and gnashing of teeth that we saw after 2016, but probably more magnified just because of everything that's going on in the world. So
everyone hates Trump right now. He should have been the one who stopped the coronavirus from spreading all over the world. Okay.
But he somehow, hilarious. I will say though, if I was going to go to Portland or one of those places and like mix it up with those riots, I would just get a group of like 12 or 15 dudes, and my whole mission would be we'd pick one dude, like all surround him, pull him into the group, instantly like fucking cocoon him in duct tape, throw him on the ground, grab the next guy, and just work our way through the entire crowd that way. Because you just pick one of them off at a time. It'd be, like I said, some noodle-armed soy boy from Portland wouldn't stand a chance. You just get like 12 or 15 on one, just fucking tie him up in a sack or whatever, put a padlock on it, throw him by the side of the road. And then by the time you get through probably like 50 of those fuckers before they even knew what was happening.
Throw them right in the river.
It'd be scattered.
Yeah, they wouldn't even know what was happening. They'd see one of the guys disappear in the crowd, and all of a sudden, just move on to the next one.
Well, people are going down there. The people are going down there just to.
They're treating it like a rugby game or something. They just want to go down there and run into the. They're sitting there with like literal shields and like bats and throwing stuff at each other. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this? I don't understand. It's literally just for fun, but it's high risk fun. Go play paintball or go to an MMA gym or something and get the shit kicked out of you a few times. I
think one thing that's worth mentioning is a lot of conservatives, or a lot of people on the right, Republicans, are just, I think a majority are sort of standing by and just watching the asinine behaviors. Right. It's not preppers going out there.
No, certainly not.
Certainly not. It's the people on the right are just like, okay, there's a bit of hysteria, there's a bit of, aggravation within society, and this group of people on the left feel the need to get out and emotionally protest. Great phrase, Morgan, by the way. And get out the feelings, break some windows, and do what they got to do. And preppers are just, conservatives are just sitting back and we're sort of, it's almost like we're, for me anyways, I'm just it's entertainment to me to watch the irrationality unfold.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Well, I wish it were better entertainment, because I mean it's creating a huge divide, and I don't really understand the purpose of it. So I wish it were a little bit better. And so, I think preppers are really just trying to hold their own at this point. They're just like, you know what, I need to that's why they're buying the guns and the ammo and all this stuff. We don't know because it's so wild right now. So we're just gonna sit back and be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna protect my own and
right. Because for most of us as preppers, like this isn't like a major shit hit the fan. Like we're waiting still for like something to really big could happen, and that's what we're preparing for. So like right now, unless you lost a job or something, which certainly a lot of people have, there's been no real major shortages, no grid down type situations, no extremely widespread civil unrest or anything that I would consider, an actual countrywide shit hit the fan. Yeah. So we're still just fighting, preparing, building up for what could happen, But I get the wanting to do something, and it is frustrating, just like that quote that's been around for years. Like it's too late to work within the system and too early to shoot the bastards. And that we're pretty much still at that point where you can't just go shoot these commies, but it's hard to not do anything. You know what I mean? But like I said, what are you risking? What are you hoping to accomplish, and what are you risking? You're risking a lot to accomplish what? By going down there.
Right. And but how are we going to accomplish what we want to accomplish? How
right.
do
At some point you have to take the risk, but there has to be at least there has to be a goal. You know what I mean? I'm all in favor of taking action, and if someone went down and said, this is why we're going, this is what we're planning on doing, I'd be, all right, cool. As long as you realize the risks and you're willing to take those risks, and you have a plan, like a mission that you're actually trying to accomplish, but just being down there because they're down there, that's not good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. It's funny too how a lot of the motivations for the anger are coming from 30-second clips that we see through Reddit or Twitter or Facebook of some sort of injustice. And the police brutality is definitely one card that the left is playing with respect to an agenda to somehow reform the system. Personally, maybe I shouldn't be saying this publicly, but I'll hear a newscast and they'll say, well, blah, 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 and Black Lives Matter says blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking, well, why the fuck do we care about what they're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
I hate to be so blunt and swear, but it's,
oh, no.
In some respects, it's like, why don't we listen to the Greenpeace or other organizations as well?
Right.
So it's sad to think that they have some sort of influence on the public to the point that they're forced to sort of change how they're interacting with corporations and media and things of this accord. And it's fascinating as a Canadian to sort of watch this unravel for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the problem with a lot of different issues now, is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of mindset, where all these people that are making a big stink about this stuff, these are not a large percentage of the population, whether that's about like a trend, like pronouns or any of this weird stuff that like, oh, this company used a picture of an attractive woman for their ad. That's like, that's body shaming. Like not the majority of people don't really feel strongly about that stuff. Even if they're sort of sympathetic to it, they're not the ones calling up and trying to boycott. Like these are single digit percentages of population. They're just being extremely aggressive about it, and they're loud and aggressive. Right. And then that's who gets the attention, unfortunately. So we need to try to come up with a counter to that, I guess. And I don't think just trying to be louder is necessarily the better solution. You just have to be more resilient, realize and ignore it. I was actually very heartened to see that, I think it was Red Bull, the company. Okay. They had some people were like, oh, we need to do all these woke initiatives or whatever. And the guy just fired them all. I was like, nah, that's stupid. Literally fired them all. And it was like, we're a drink company. Like, that's not what we do. Just get out. Like, you're trying, that's not, And I was like, that's awesome. And I think we'll see more of that, because you get to a point where these companies literally, there's no middle ground to sit on anymore. The middle ground is so razor thin, that there's just no chance that you can fit in that. And it's constantly changing. So they're either going to have to just say, we give up, we're going to do whatever people yell at us about. And most people can't really afford to do that. So they're just going to have to say, look, sorry, we sell hamburgers or whatever, leave us alone. We don't need to weigh in. We don't need to weigh in on Black Lives Matter and trans issues and all this.
Yeah.
We're a fucking burger company or whatever. And that's the better, right. Either that, or companies will take an overtly political position and just market exclusively to those groups. It's either just going to be one or the other. And I think the crazy people, especially on the left, are sort of forcing that, because they're saying, if you don't explicitly support us, we treat you the same as someone who's explicitly against us. So then it's like, well, fine, then I guess we're against you. You know what I mean? And more companies are probably going to have to just accept that and just market to a smaller percentage of the population.
I just don't know why corporations have to take such a strong stance one way or the other. It's a corporation. It is selling you something. You can either believe in whatever they're selling, the hamburger, or you can not eat the hamburger. I mean, that's it. That's it. It's gotten so insane that people are expecting so much from these corporations. You have to support this and you have to support that and you have to do this and you have to do that. I respect corporations that don't do anything, that just keep doing whatever they're doing. Just
like, do you want the hamburger or not? You know, like,
make the hamburger. That's all I want.
Yeah, because I was talking with people about that when we were first having these issues with like kneeling during the national anthem at football games and stuff like that. And I'm like, this isn't a First Amendment issue. Like, these people are at work. You know what I mean? Like, if I owned a McDonald's franchise and the guy in the drive-thru had a Trump hat on, I'd be like, put the fucking hat off. You know what I mean? Like, you're serving hamburgers. Go be political on your own time, even though I support Trump. It has nothing to do with that. I mean, like, we're paying you to be here and do this thing. You're wearing a uniform. Like, if you don't like it, get the fuck out. You know, it's not because you do or don't support that. Like, even a slogan that I support, like, I wouldn't let them wear a Killdozer shirt, you know, at the drive-through window either, because I know this is not, it's a business. We're not trying to be political. So, and then, like I said, though, some businesses might choose to go the opposite way and be overtly political. And it's you know, purposefully kind of to say, we don't want your business for this happen. And that's a legit decision, but, you know,
I respect a business that has a goal and a purpose. Like, we sell our certain things to hunters or whatever, right? That's one thing. But I mean, to just be like, you know, or even a business that sells to, you know, just to the Black Lives Matter or whatever. I mean, these people, they're selling to those people. Fantastic. Go, more power to you. Do whatever you got.
And I wouldn't expect them to like be worried about some random other cause that you're like, oh, you don't say that this is, you know, free range cotton or whatever that you make your shirts out of, and like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me. I think
here's one that says Yellowstone is going to explode. You know, the thing about Yellowstone, this is totally off topic. I just saw this out of nowhere. Is that, yes, it's overdue, like everyone says, but like the amount that it's overdue in a geological scale is like saying someone's like, hey, I'm going to be there at 9 o'clock. And it's like 1 second after, and like, oh my God, they're late. And for it to happen in our lifetime, they would have to show up within like the next second. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about, it's like the range for Yellowstone to blow up is some like tens, if not hundreds of thousands of years. And it's like several thousand years overdue, but like, that's nothing. It's not even like, So yeah, it could happen at any moment. But like I said, a human lifetime would be the equivalent of like, is that guy going to get here within the next second, basically?
Yeah.
You know, probably not. And if it does, whatever, it'll be interesting.
We're prepared, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm not within the blast radius, but I'm within a pretty deep ash cloud. So we'll see what happens. I'll have to clean the air filter on the Bronco.
On the Bronco.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't think I have an air filter strong enough.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch quickly on what you guys were saying about specific companies. You're selling a hamburger. It's a hamburger. Like, there's no political alliance. I think if you're going to align politically with a certain side, if you're Republican or right wing, then if you're in the business of selling anything that's doing, you know, if you're selling anything to do with firearms or, you know, off-grid solutions, you're probably going to have that crowd anyway. So increase it. Just like if you're selling, I don't know, pink hats for cats or something stupid like that, a leftist idea.
Kitten mittens.
Sure. Yeah, kitten mittens. Throw your ideologies on, you know, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, you know, women, blah, 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 blah. A woman always tells the truth. Men kill all men, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Then you would, yeah. Anyways, we've got a $5. This is amazing.
From Let's Talk About Prepping. I appreciate it, sir. It said, time is short. Yeah, make your local shit. Hit the friends. I can't stop. Go for it. Read it. Can't read.
Well,
I'm only two Miller Lights in. It's not that.
Lights? Come on.
Time is short. Make your local SHTF friends now.
That's what we were talking about earlier, yeah.
You know, it's weird for me because I started back in one of my motivations to doing things locally, and maybe you guys can elaborate on this, was meeting people and interacting people. Always in the back of my mind, I'm building up the sort of Excel file of such and such person has mechanical skills, such and such person has got a background in medical doctor skills, and such person has got farming skills. So it's almost like for me personally, if you want to build a network, time is short, build your bug out group without actually building it. Don't actually communicate that what you do is prepare and you've got all sorts of resources and plans in place, but just have these people in mind so that if it does really happen and the EMP does happen, you've already got that friendly rapport and connection with particular individuals that have skills that you may or may be looking for, without actually recruiting them beforehand, because they'll love to jump into your Noah's Ark or ship.
That's
I mean,
how we've been doing it. Sorry.
Go for it.
That's basically how we've been doing it here around the neighborhood. We just, hey, what do you do? What do you, whatever, we need this. Do you know somebody, this, that, and the other? Never once has prepper or preparedness or any of that come out of our mouths, and nor should it. I mean, it doesn't really, it's not really that important to the grand scheme of building your network. It's just, hey, what do you got, or, I need this. Can you help? That's it. I mean, and then you can rely on that person. They know they can rely on us for that. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. I really like the idea. Like, if I had my druthers and resources weren't an issue, I would just have extra resources, because I think it's better to find people who have every other attribute that you're looking for and aren't necessarily preppers, and just be able to take them into the fold basically, than trying to find someone. Look at all the preppers and then pick the people who have all those resources, just because most people aren't preppers. They might be perfectly intelligent, perfectly, good characters, squared away with all of the skill areas, and still most people just aren't serious preppers. It's just the way it is. So screening for them outside the prepper group is important too, just knowing who you can trust, who you could bring in, and then hopefully share resources with, instead of starting by screening for people who are only preppers. You're just working with a smaller group of people. But it takes resources, because if they're not a prepper, they're going to be a resource drain. So if you only have enough for yourself, that's not necessarily going to work. So it's two options, but
it's funny too. You can elaborate on that with your resources for bartering. That's where bartering comes in, because you may not bring them in your group, but maybe you've got, I don't know, skill. We'll say mechanical skills. I think anything mechanical is going to be important. Process HTF to be able to sort of create and make things, and you can say, well, I'll give you XYZ resource in exchange for your time to work or build a wind turbine or whatever it is, right? So plenty of options out there. You got $5 for being awesome. What's that about?
I saw that. Yeah, I guess I'm awesome. Eric is awesome. Thank you, Brian Hickenbottom. He's been a long time viewer of my channel, which is great. I saw one. What's up? I said, I'm going to beat the EMP dead horse. Will an EMP ruin the electronic lock on my gun safe? There's a lot. I'm sure we've all seen all the various opinions on EMPs and things like that, what they will affect, what they won't. The one thing that I'll say is that from what I understand, a natural EMP, like a solar flare, is less likely to damage small electronics like that and mostly affect larger transformers, power lines, things like that. Whereas a nuclear EMP might affect something small like watches, phones, electronic locks. I always like to have non-electronic backups. My guess is that there's some way you could get into your gun safe if the electronics died on it. And so I would try to figure that out now. But it's certainly a possibility that any electronic could be affected by an EMP. We just don't know. You could keep it in a Faraday cage of some kind, but that'll affect the speed at which you can access your firearm. So I would just get more guns. Keep one in the gun, keep one in the gun safe or whatever. And if that ends up getting completely compromised by an EMP, you could pull them out really quick and then later work on hammering it open. If you watch videos of safe, like how they test safe to see how tough they are, they get into them pretty quick. If you get a couple crowbars, it's not that hard. So even like a major safe, they're like, it took them 24 minutes to get into this. That's twice as long as our competitor. And you're like, wait a second, you did it less than half an hour? Like, shit. So it's not that hard to crack open a gun box if you needed to. So
it's almost like a ubiquitous response we could have for you moving forward. Eric says, just get more guns.
Yeah,
so
just get more guns. I mean, I know it's tough right now. They're out. Because speaking of like what you were talking about earlier, I went to a Bass Pro Shop here down by one of the casinos, just dipped in to see what they had going on with ammo and stuff. They probably had 100-foot long counter, glass counter, like display counter, that was normal times completely full of guns, maybe thousands of them. There might have been 20 guns in there. Just like a couple random caliber revolvers and weird things, expensive ones. that's for the most part, it's not at the point where everything is sold out. If you go higher end, you'll still be able to find what you want, expensive stuff. But any of the normal, but just normal guns, Glocks, regular 9mm guns, are
like,
all
you know, like
gone.
Sure, rifles that are 50 years old, a little hinge action, 410.
Yeah, exactly. Just gone. Yeah, but if you want to buy like a $3,500, you know, sniper rifle or something, you can still find that. So.
Yeah.
Do they have any Barretts available? Did you see any? Oh.
No, I don't think Bass Pro has the Barretts. That's one of my dream guns. It's a big 50 cal.
I think
$8,000 or $10,000 gun, but.
Was it only $10,000?
Yeah, right now they're probably 15,000.
Yeah.
And those are already like $5 or $6 a pop for like the 50 BMG.
The 50 AE are, I think, $2 or something. We had a Desert Eagle at one point, and they were like $2 round or something. So yeah,
outrageous.
Get out of here.
I posted something. I saw something on Twitter where I was like, soon it's going to be more expensive to shoot the robbers than it would be to just let them take your stuff. Like, sorry, man, don't take my ammo. You know, everything else. I can't afford to shoot you.
Yeah, we were actually just talking the other day. My husband and I, we were like, I really want to go down to the creek and shoot. I really don't want to waste any of my ammo. Like, you know, it's so precious right now. And,
yeah.
You know, we could just shoot even just 5 or 10. I'd be like,
yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, it's wild times. Well, it's been about an hour. So anything else you guys want to? Yeah, let's talk about prepping. The potato cannons are awesome. I saw your video on that. It's hilarious. Make like a spud gun. There's all sorts of other improvised weapons you could use for major Chick Van events. Bow and arrows. Yeah, you've done some bow shooting, Morgan.
Yeah.
axe throwing, things like that.
Yeah. I videoed tonight talks a little bit about that. If you can't buy a gun, then get something. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, definitely gonna need something. I know there's a couple preppers on the Doomsday Prepper show that said it was unethical. It just security wasn't in their mindset, and when they were asked about it, and when they had their assessment, they just like, no, it's just we don't feel it's bubble, whatever reason. That'll change if any sort of major disaster happens. That's for sure, because there's always going to be criminals out there, and you need a way to protect yourself. I think we're ready to wrap it up, but we did get a $2 gift from
So I want me to nod for you. I do it for Rogue and JJ. I'm not sure I know what that means, but I appreciate the $2. Do you guys know what that means?
Illiterate Ink from Illiterate.
Thank you. Nod for you.
Nod, just like literally nod.
Sure. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much.
Yeah, not me. Whatever.
He says he's good at nodding. I have a strong neck. Yeah, go for it. Nod away. Appreciate it. We always take a good. Is it an up nod like one of these? Like so.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So mod. I think he said mod. He's trying to say mod for you, like be a moderator. There's a typo.
Who is that?
Got it. For Illiterate Ink. So he is illiterate. He's actually illiterate.
Yeah, I
spelled it. Yeah, maybe. Honestly, though, I have Yeah, thanks, guys. We haven't had moderators maybe once or twice. I've been kind of impressed with the paucity of trolls that we've had on this channel. Like, it's not been too bad. We get the occasional people like, "You're wasting your time prepping," and then they leave or whatever. But this advice is all dumb. I'm gonna just take your stuff and let you hit the fan, but that's like rare. And I've seen other people just say they get swarmed with trolls constantly. And
it comes and goes in waves for me. I get sometimes it's just like 3 days in a row, I'll just roll after troll. It's very draining. And then like for weeks it'll be like nothing pleasant. And then
that's weird because I've almost never had any, just a couple snide dumbass comments here and there, but nothing like where they're just spamming or whatever. I've maybe blocked 2-3 people ever from the live streams, and just because they're being annoying, not because they're really that excessive. So I'm glad. So in the future, if we need a moderator, possibly, but it hasn't been a need so far, which I'm thankful for.
Well, give us money, we'll make you a moderator. I'm still trying to get over the fact that you're nodding. It's like, okay, I'll nod.
I'll nod. Yeah.
That was an odd request, almost like a weird sexual fetish. Somebody's got
right.
These guys nod.
I did nod, yes.
It's like where you see the head like bobbing up. not it.
Make some sort of GIF out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, one more. Okay.
Here we go. What about shit the fan and the election? Well, like I said, I think there will be some more elevated civil unrest after the election, regardless of the outcome. I'm not sure which way it will go. To the follow-up comment there by Steven, I do think Trump will win. I'm not 100% positive about it, but I made some money betting, quite a bit of money betting on the 2016 election, and I'm planning to win some more on this one. So
how much? What do you got in there?
the first one, his odds were great, and I won about 10 grand because he was like 12-1 when I got my money in to win.
Okay. What do you got
So
on this?
he's I won't win anywhere near that much. I'll put the same amount of money on it probably, but won't win 12-1. He's only a slight underdog right now, which is still, I think, good, but okay. But he's only like plus 120. So for every $100 or plus 150, maybe depending on where you look. So for every $100 you bet, you'll win 150.
I'm torn. I know we got to get going, and Morgan, I want to respect your time as well, but I'll just say this briefly, that I think some people may be not inclined to vote for Trump because there's a part of him that's sort of repetitive in that whatever he does, it's like he's touching gold. It's like, oh, this is the best,
Right.
blah, 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 blah.
And the biggest and the best and everything.
Yeah, he said something the other day about speaking. He connects better with Black people than Martin Luther King, something like that. And I think with these sort of statements over and over again, people are starting to think, well, you're not a Messiah, you're not, the second coming and whatever. And there may be a difference of opinion there. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I do think, like I said, I mentioned this before on some of our live streams, to where I think there are those people who've either tired of him or don't like his, him being just the type of person that he is, obnoxious, basically. But I don't think those people are going to go vote for Biden. They're just not going to vote. So I think the turnout, and same with Biden, like a lot of those people that are just like, oh, Jesus, what is this? Like, they're not necessarily going to go vote for Trump. They're just not going to vote. So I think turnout is going to be the deciding factor in a lot of these swing states like Pennsylvania, like Florida, stuff like that. But just like with 2016, which type of people are going to stay home? Are I think with all the civil unrest and stuff, I think a lot of people are just going to be like, man, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And Biden is just the most low energy. There's zero enthusiasm behind him or Kamala Harris. He's literally senile. Like, he's not going to be bringing people out in any sort of like numbers. Literally, the only reason people are voting at all is an anti-Trump vote. So it just comes down to how many people are motivated to go out there and vote purely based on their hatred of Trump. Like, there's a lot of them, but are there enough? And especially in those states, I don't think so. I don't think enough has changed between 2016. So,
Morgan, your thought?
First of all, I think it's really funny how I've already been seeing people like, so who do you think Kamala Harris is going to pick for her VP?
Right.
I think that's hilarious to me. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really feel the same way. There's definitely going to be some unrest at some for whatever reason. But just like with every election, it'll decide. But I'm actually kind of more curious about the turnout from the polls, mainly because of mask mandates and things like that. Like, I'm not really sure how are they dealing with all this. They've already very explicitly said that they want people to more send in mail-in votes and things like that.
Right.
Extreme, cause for voter fraud. And so, I don't know. I think this election is just really weird. It's just
I mean, we've seen Biden support like a nationwide mask mandate. He's obviously anti-gun, which has always proven to be a pretty losing position in American politics, luckily.
Yeah.
But she is as well. Yeah, Camilla, or whatever her name is.
It's funny because they always rail against old white people and the police, and they literally are nominating an old white guy and a cop. Like, she's a prosecutor, bragging about throwing Black people in jail for marijuana, and then laugh about doing it herself.
Yeah,
all this other
I
stuff.
heard about that.
They're horrible people. They're hilariously inept too, and they're making such terrible decisions. And he's like hiding. Like, are they even going? I'm thinking they're going to try really hard to not even do the debates. So like, all that stuff is certainly not going to be helping them. And if he does do the debate, obviously he could have a complete meltdown. He can't even get through like 2-minute videos that they're like editing and stuff without. stammering or saying something weird
Yeah.
or, you know, staring off into space or whatever. So it's literally at the point where the news is like, oh, look, he rides a bike. Look how healthy he is. Like, that's their evidence. They're like, okay, you can sit on a bike without falling over. And like, that's, whew. Like if this guy was your parent, you'd be talking about whether you should take his car keys away.
Yeah, exactly. Put him in a home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Democrats play out, use the coronavirus and everything that surrounds it as an excuse to.
Yeah. They'll say it's not safe to do live, you know, debates. We should just, oh, did we lose Morgan? Might have lost her internet. She disappeared from my view.
All right. Well, brother.
Well, that's probably
always.
yeah.
Was gonna give her the last
anyway.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so just check out her channel, Rogue Preparedness, on YouTube, and I think it's just roguepreparedness.com is her channel. And as always, Che with Prepper Logic.
Yes.
Anything new to promote?
No, right now it's been interesting. You know, this is always fun every week, and it's just watching this unravel is fascinating. So I'm Che with Prepper Logic. Thanks again for joining us yet again for another Prepper Trifecta. And unfortunately, we lost Morgan from Rogue Preparedness. She was our special guest this evening. And
got near the end anyway.
We got to have her back on. Tonight was actually a blast. It was a really, really good social dynamic with everything going on. So join us again next week, everybody, same time, 9 p.m. EST or 6 p.m. whatever your zone is.
Yeah,
Pacific on the Lord Humongous channel. Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Eric,
thank you.
Final words.
Yep.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Let me go.